Hey everybody, Viola Lofton here. And as I stated on that Facebook post on Worship Flags Community with Sales, this is the project that I was working on. It is a quick start video for all of those who had the same questions that I did when I started worshiping with banners. The ministry I belonged to before I moved, we did use flags or banners during worship. Majestic Warriors is what we were called. And so I just knew I was worshiping with banners and setting up a standard in the sanctuary among God's people. But when I moved, I was being tugged to continue that mandate. And so I just want to help all those whose heartstrings are being tugged right now to either start using banners in their ministry, or they're being called to use banners to worship. Okay. I do just want to say that, remember, using banners is about worshiping and setting God's standard no matter where we're at. It's not about the fabric. It's not about what they look like. It's not about how beautiful the silk looks with the dye, and so sometimes we get caught up and we're gravitated to what looks pretty, but you want to gravitate to what has purpose and what God is calling you to use. So I would just encourage you to, before you even purchase anything after watching this video, if it helps you, I pray that it does bless you in some way, shape, or form, that you would also research those that you are purchasing banners from. Okay. Not everything that glitters is gold. Okay. So I'll go ahead and say that. So just remember that this is a mandate. This is worship. Okay. Why do we even use banners? I'm gonna keep it short and simple because this is intended to be a very basic, banner 101 video for those that just need some direction, some that have questions, like I said, questions that I did. Remember, using banners is about worship. It's about setting a standard. Remember that in Ephesians 6:12, and I'll go ahead and read that with you, or for you, is that we're not contending against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against my eyes, astigmatism, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the world rulers of this present darkness, against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Okay. And so using banners, first we give honor to God. We honor God. We honor his presence. We declare our allegiance to Jehovah Nisi, because again, Jehovah Nisi, the Lord, our banner, he is our banner. He is our standard. Remember Moses and his staff, when he rose it up and he split the seas, that was a representation of God's power. God's power going forth in the earth and raising a standard against the enemy, which were the Egyptians, Pharaoh and his army. Okay. It's to communicate to God, in our worship, and again, to signal God's presence, to rally the troops, God's army, and to take back territory. So there's so much significance and purpose. I'll use the word purpose in using banners. Okay. Banners in ministry, in your ministry, in worship, in warfare, and prayer. Okay. So I just want to say that before I go into the basics. Some of the questions that I had asked on the Facebook post are just basic questions that I know I had. So if those are the same questions that you have, I'm praying that you get some kind of insight, and I just want to add some extra information that I wrote down as well. Okay, so what are the different types of materials used to make banners? That was important for me to know because I wanted to know how each material flowed. Silk is very popular among those who make banners because you can dye them, and there's so many prophetic banners that are out there with colors that signify what God is saying to the individual who is creating these banners and laying their vision on the silk banners. So silk is very popular. You have a material called lame. It's spelled Lame, and so you might want to call it lame, but it's pronounced lame. And that's like the more shiny, and I'm gonna make a video just kind of demonstrating the way these banners flow. Okay, so you have lame, you have silk, poly china. Okay, and again, I think silk is very popular because you can dye this fabric, and it flows beautifully. It flows beautifully when you see it in worship. There are different sizes and dimensions. Again, that's up to the consumer, the worshiper. What are you looking for? If you are in a confined space where you will be worshiping, it's probably best to stick to a smaller size. One of the first sets that I ordered was a child size. I thought they were going to be small, but they were angel cut, and they flow beautifully. They don't have to be huge to make a statement or to usher in God's presence. Okay, they don't have to be huge. So again, it really just depends on the space that you're going to be worshiping in. The standard size for most banners is 35 by 42. Okay, bigger flags 35 by 84, and I have a larger set. They're angel cut, and it's like a metallic lame, and they're 52 by 54, and those are beautiful. And again, I'll show you in that next video. So that's as far as the sizes. Now, if you are working with children, if you are teaching children, the basic size works, 35 by 42. It really just depends on what the child can handle. My daughter was able to maneuver with that child size that I mentioned, and silk also is great for well, I don't know if they're great for children, because when your hands, you know, you want to be careful that they don't dirty the silk or mess up the fabric. So I would go with a more durable material like that lame that I was mentioning. Why do some people refer to banners as flags? And again, I was not taught, but I referred to them as flags before I really understood the significance of what we were doing in worship concerning banners and flags. And I would just encourage you to seek God, seek his truth, seek his word, because there's so much revelation and just so much to learn about when it comes to standard and really raising a standard, God's standard, wherever you are, wherever you're called to worship. Okay. I already talked about the different cuts. No, I did not. So there are different cuts for banners. Okay, you have your flame style cuts, you have an angel cut, and then you have your basic rectangular or square cut flag banners. I will show you the ones that I do have to kind of just give you an idea of what they look like. They all flow beautifully. Again, it's the preference of the consumer, the worshiper, and what you're looking for. Okay. The difference between rods, that was a big question of mine, because when I first started worshiping with flags, because they were the more square ones, my hands would like tense up because of the rod. So for me, I needed something that was durable but also flexible and not so heavy. So if you have shoulder issues, or you know your arms get tired easily, you might want to go towards a flex rod. Okay, flex rods, and you can, those who make banners, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the flex rods are very popular because they're light, they're also durable, and they're bendable, so you can travel with them. Okay, I do know that there's some that use fiberglass rods, which are, I believe, the flex rods, and there's also dowels, which are wooden dowels, oak dowels, and they don't break easily, and those you cannot bend, obviously, because they're wood, but they're very durable. Okay, There's a set that I had ordered from Call to Flag, and they write that they're dowels, that they use dowels, but that they're not wooden dowels, and they don't release the kind of material or the kind of dowel it is. And I mean, I get it, I understand why, but they're very durable, the rods that they use from Call to Flag, and I'll show you that in the next video, how they look with the banner. Okay, so that's the difference between the rods to consider. And those are some questions. These are also questions that you can ask the person you are seeking to buy banners from. Okay, if someone wants to start making banners, what are the websites or chains to purchase materials from? So in this post, I didn't get the feedback that I was hoping for, but that's fine, because I understand this is also business for many of the individuals on this group. So that is something that you will have, if it's on your heart to start making banners, that is something that you want to start researching for yourself, to see, just really to see where you're going to purchase your materials from. I'm sorry I don't have more information about that question, but I know there were people that were asking them, and I know they didn't really get the I guess the info they were looking for either. So but some of the websites, I can give you some websites I have, or not websites and people that I've ordered from, and I didn't just carelessly order from them. I checked their fruit. I checked for their fruit, and I had to test the fruit, make sure that what they were creating was from being a good steward, and that they knew what they were doing, not only in making these banners, but that they know the heart of God. They're not just making these to make money. I know it is their business, but at the end of the day, they're doing what God has put on their heart to do. So that was very important for me, because you just don't want to purchase from anybody. I will say that. So what material, this was also an important question that I had in researching, what material is best for worship, praise, warfare movements. I have found that any material can be used for either. However, for worship, for that flow, lame and silk, they, depending on how the worshiper moves as well, they both work. Both work beautifully. But silk, again, and when you see it in the next video, you'll see what I'm talking about. For praise, there's a set that I have. They're gold, and they're like a sheer material, and those are beautiful, and they're the smaller ones. So those are awesome for praise, because I can move a lot faster than with the silk, because silk has a more like flow to them. And lame, my larger ones, I can do praise, warfare, and worship with those, the larger angel cut. I mean, they're heavy, and you can hear the wind, but I think any material really, again, it just really depends on you and what you're looking for. But I would say lame more for warfare, praise, worship, a more durable material that has that snap, that sound, that makes that sound. And for worship, definitely silk. That's my personal opinion and my preference in banners. So again, I wanted to keep it short and sweet. Also, I wanted to mention that there are swing flags. Okay, these flags, it's the material, and they have no rod. In order to maneuver with them, they use curtain weights, curtain chains, and that's where you find a piece, and it's like a square. I don't have a set, so I can't demonstrate what they look like, but there's videos of other worshipers that use these swing flags. So if that's something that you want to look into,